Hey guys, what's going on and welcome back to Tenerife. You join me after the busiest transfer window I've ever had here. I'll see you after the intro. But first, a reminder of the objectives. Now, when I started this save, I wanted to become the biggest team in world football. After doing the domestic treble last year, we're still 7th. We're undoubtedly the biggest team in Spanish football now, but as we embark on what is now season number 7 here at Tenerife, I do have to just assess the situation slightly. There is the option I might end it once we get to 5-star rep. Not necessarily the top, but 5-star rep. We'll see how long that takes, but if reaching the very top doesn't look like it's going to be happening within a few seasons, we might have to just take down our expectations just one notch. We have actually already won every major trophy except for the Club World Championship. So it's not the end of the world if we ended a little bit prematurely. And we'll kick the transfer news off with the outbounds, and I'll begin with the most surprising outbound of all, probably. You might recall at the end of last episode, I was judging a few players' worth versus their release fee and whether or not it was a good idea to try and get them an improved contract, because all of them would have wanted far more wages in a trade-off for a higher release fee. And probably not all of them would have been happy to go into a squad role, which is what they were now in. Gallardo was one of the few that was already in a squad role and was seemingly very happy to stay there. He was also the one I completely didn't notice had a very low release fee. £46.5 million, don't get me wrong, it's a massive jump from the £1.4 million that we paid Barcelona for his services. Barcelona utter morons. He's a player that didn't have a lot of fun at Huesca, apparently, but once he joined us, yep, you can see the performances. 6 goals, 12 assists that first season, and actually had probably one of his best seasons to date in the last one. 8 goals there, less assists, but a 7.3 average rating. He is definitely his highest to date for us. But transfer window opened, and Man United didn't really waste much time. Just straight in my inbox, bam, £46.5 million. It's been accepted. Accepted because it's his release fee. I had no say in the matter. This one's less surprising. I sort of resigned myself to the fact that this was likely going to happen. Diego Quiros went for £53 million. Again, release fee, £2 million we pay for him. That's a profit. An incredibly consistent performer, but had been usurped in his first team role. One of those few people that probably wouldn't have accepted a squad role here. Despite being a team leader, one of my 2 enforcers. One day I remember to click profile rather than going back and going off a page. But yeah, they're paying him £130,000 a week. I was not willing to do something like that for a player that was definitely going to be backup from here on in. Very well-rounded, very good. Thank you for your services, Diego. This one's not a release fee, but Dortmund offered me £48.5 million for Zukic, and again, £2.2 million we paid for him. That's a heck of a profit. Didn't have the best of starts, did he, with that 6.76 first season, but then settled in, found his rhythm, found his form, 7.1 average pretty much the last three seasons. But again, declining appearances mean he was on the chopping block, and I already told you about my plans for that left-hand side. Grealish, first choice. The guy we signed last January, second choice. He's been paying £100,000 a week there, which is more than we were paying him. I'm happy to see him go somewhere. Hopefully he's a starter for them. I can't tell because this skin doesn't tell me their squad role for some reason. I don't know where to find it. Is it under information? I think that's where it is if they belong to me, but not if they belong to someone else. So if someone can tell me where to find that on this skin, let me know. So with 3 £50 million outbound transfers there or thereabouts, you think that might be enough for me? Nope. £42 million we got for Batarancourt. He's gone to Lyon. I'm hoping he's a starter there. I suspect he's a starter there. Again, backup player. Didn't like big games and wasn't inconsistent on his cons as well. So didn't really need 3 left-sided players. I sold 2 of them. We've got £90 million for the pair of them. Not a bad deal when you consider the placements cost far less than that. Also, I still have a third choice here, who's been here a while, and I've just been loaning out for the past few years, despite the fact he's no longer non-EU for some reason. Don't know how that's happened. Speaking of being loaned out for a few years, I sold Molina to Napoli permanently for £7.5 million. His value here was bizarrely low. He's worth 19 there. I don't know why his value with us was so low. I knew he was worth more than £7.5 million, but they offered me less than that, and that was as high as they went. So I went, sod it, you can have him, because I didn't need Molina anymore either. Player I rated in the very early stages, I think we just outpaced him a little bit in terms of the potential ability. You can see it there. 2.5 star now, possibly not any more than that left in him. Consistent, but he's been out on loan the last couple of years. Figured it was fine to let him go. It's a bit of a cut price deal. Similarly, Cancelo, we didn't really play him last year. We brought him in for 19 million. We've sold him on for 22.5, so it's a minor profit. 32, decent natural fitness. I suspect he's got another good couple of years in him. He did play 17 times in total for us, but 14 of them were off the bench. In total, was 6 starting, full stop, in all competitions. This was a deal that I had in place when Bermudez became available again, so I think I ended up just accepting them both because why not? And then finally, and possibly most surprisingly of all, is the bafflingly valued Pablo Torre, who again, 2.5 star, potential ability of 3 star. Bear in mind he plays in exactly the same position Molina does, despite what Molina's position chart says. They're both central midfielders, they both play in that role in the middle. He's valued at £42 million at Wolves. We sold him for 36, which I think is still bafflingly high. 4.5 million he cost. Ignore the player exchange because that player was worth 20 grand. I don't know why they wanted him. Yeah, insane profit for a player that was always backup and whose replacement cost me 28. Also, he's a real person even though he's got a new gen face. That was an accident of the process. Apologies, Pablo. Right, so that's around 260, 270 million pounds worth of outbounds. And with the 60 million pounds there or thereabouts budget that we already had, I have spent a bit of money. But first on the inbound side is Mario Matai. I'm going to go with Matai, by the way. I know fellow Albanian Andy Thanoj, legend of Football Manager, goes by Thanoj, but that's because he has been somewhat anglicised. I'm going to presume Mario Matai still pronounces it the Albanian way. Just very well rounded. 19 million pounds up front. There's bonuses if he plays games, but he is the backup, so I don't expect those bonuses to be paid for a while. He is 5-year contracted, 60 grand a week, squad player. He's just a 2.5 star left-footed defender backup who is always going to happy being a squad player. There's no downside to this. By the way, nationality Albanian, his eligibility is Greek. I don't know what's going on there, by the way. Originated at AEK Athens, real player, doesn't have a face. Aspires balled in for a bit. We paid a little bit more. Just the perfect squad player, in my opinion. Fairly professional as well. Good personality. So yeah, the last one wasn't any particularly special, just very well-rounded backup. Again, slightly better overall, but a backup is Vitor Ferreira, and he's a model citizen. To join Antov in the model citizen ranks here at Tenerife. Great for mentoring with. 26 already. 3-star midfielder. He's the replacement for Pablo Torre, like I said. He was £28 million up front when we consider that Torre was sold for 36. Bingo. And if you compare the two players, I don't understand Pablo Torre's value, if I'm completely honest. Apparently he can improve by a slight amount, but it's 3-star either way. I'm happy just to have a 3-star player here who's happy to be a squad player. We're sort of at that point now where we need to bring in players who are guaranteed second choice players, ones that aren't going to develop anymore and try and pretend that they're better than they are, because we're going to end up in an endless cycle of players getting better than having to be sold, because we can't meet their demands anymore because everyone in our squad is ridiculous. We do need some players who are always going to be backups. Those last two are them. And similarly, Riccardo Orsolini. With Carter going, I needed someone that I knew who was reliable on that right-hand side. Riccardo Orsolini has never let me down. In any Football Manager, he has never let me down in any save. He was transfer listed by Arsenal. Now, he wasn't transfer listed for a budget price. Sadly, we did have to pay full whack for him, and that full whack is £58 million. But he's played one game, he scored 1 goal and got 2 assists. As I say, he has never let me down. But he's 29 now in the game. 3-star current ability, 3-star potential. Very well-rounded. Incredibly well-rounded, actually, when you look at him. So many 14s, 15s, a few 13s. But all of them in that very good spot. 29, here for a few years. Absolutely cannot argue with his quality and his reliability. He's playing back up to Merckx, who is actually slightly tired at the beginning of the year already. There has been a World Cup, by the way. Some weird things happened, as always. But long term, we're going to need someone, possibly. So Vittorio Janssen, I triggered his release fee. Model citizen from Belgium. Brought him in from Club Brugge, triggered his release fee. £34.5 million for him. He's gone to Rennes. He's played 2 games already. Scored 2 goals. Gone well there. But he was just the one that didn't make the cut when it came to the registration. It was him or the third choice left winger. One of the two had to go. Although Vittorio was slightly just less good overall, as things stand right now, and possibly would benefit from playing a little bit more than the third choice left player, who is Maicon Douglas. You have seen him before. We'll show you him again momentarily. And last but not least is another wonder kid, Cerezo Kaiser. Cerezo, Kaiser. I don't know how you pronounce it, but Dutch from Vitesse. Bit pricey, this one. But we had the money, so I went, screw it. £46.5 million, I'll pay it. Whatever. He has got the potential. He is 3.5 star. He is the long-term backup in that role. The best part is his tackling is not awful, so he can actually do both of these roles quite nicely if necessary. Segundo Volante is 2 stars as things stand. Central attacking midfielder attack is 2.5 stars as things stand. Needs a bit more on the physical front. That's the only thing I think I'll let him down on the star rating, because star ratings are so affected by physical skewing. It's ridiculous. But 5-star potential, decent enough mentality already. The mentals in the first place are insane for a player who is 19 now. 14 work rates could be improved, but not horrible. 16 teamwork, 16 determination, bravery, decisions, all great. Realistically, he doesn't necessarily have a bad mental attribute, apart from flair from a midfielder position. Arguably, you probably want a little bit more flair from a midfielder, but 17 technique, passing can be improved too, and the mentals and the physicals can be improved too. But he's 19, he might actually grow a bit more. I've seen it happen. Bruno Alves grew, by the way. He's no longer 5'5". Well, he's 5'6" now. Sorry. He was 5'6", he's now 5'7". He's also, I think, better on paper than his star rating as well. I don't know what to do with my striking role this year. I really do not know what to do. There was a temptation to buy a world-class striker, like an already world-class striker, and move Maxi Gomez on and have these two guys play backup to them. I think that every year, but then I realised one of these two is going to become world-class, I think. I'm not actually at game day. We're going to play Bilbao here. One thing I do love about this skin, by the way, though, is the calendar versions of this. With the logo, the way that's set up, beautiful work there. But we're going to do this, and we're going to do the Champions League group stage draw, because that is 100% the focus this year. Winning that damn trophy again. We're the definite favourites for the league now, 11-10. McDonald is in the star 11. Not Ravella, not Valverde, but McDonald. Harwood and Picard, central defender-wise, are Barcelona acquired Skriniar. He was available cut price, but he's 31. And Faisal is also there. Faisal, Merckx, McDonald. I don't understand why he's there. He's very good, and his star rating has crept up dramatically over the course of last year. Last year he started at 3-star. This year he starts at 4-star. I don't know where this came from. He was rotation. He didn't even play that much last year. So I'm in a pickle in that position. I'll just say that. Because I either have to not play McDonald, or I have to drop Ravella or Valverde. Essentially, if either of them don't perform, McDonald's there. Curiously, because I'm having to record this week's episodes in advance, I'm actually recording this on exactly the same day of the year as we're playing this game. 22nd of August. So I'll be completely honest here, I didn't know that Valverde was injured. I don't know when that happened, but I knew Lodi was injured, he's returning to fitness soon. Grealish is injured, he's returning within the next 3 weeks. Valverde's back within a week as well, and Bermudez is out for 3 weeks to boot. As he was injured in the first game, Bermudez. He was subbed on for Nedelaire late on, and then injured about 5 minutes later, after I made all 3 subs. Irritating. Bizarrely, neither of their 2 goals that Villarreal scored happened after that, with 3 defenders. But just to get you caught up on the players that you might have forgotten about, Maicon Douglas was brought in a while ago. I've loaned him out the last few years because he was non-EU. He's not played in Spain, but I think because he's been in Tenerife and Getafe long enough, he took Spanish nationality then, because he does have it as another nationality. And I've seen a few players do it, a few young players doing it after being here a couple of years. I don't know what the difference is for youth and taking on the nationality opposed to the full-blown one you saw possibly with other players where they need thousands of days worth here. But I think he might have actually been not EU when he was loaned out to Napoli last year. But he's quite good. Pacey, mentals are something to be desired. Technicals are decent. He's third choice. I've made him available for the B team. Or he would be available for the B team if Grealish wasn't injured. But the lineup here will be Christensen in goal. Tenorio is going to start. Harwood, Picard and Nedelaire. Of course, the quote-unquote first choice players there are both injured. I'm having a debate of whether or not to start Tenorio and Nedelaire anyway. Because Nedelaire is the more well-rounded player to begin with. That's 17 work rate and the decent pace along with actual competent crossing. But Bermudez's mentals are insane. He's got great work rate as well, and his pace isn't actually that much worse. He just doesn't have the crossing. And the rest of his mentals are ridiculous. 20 determination, 18, 16. I forgot how good they were. And now he's been here a year. He might have a better year this year round, but we'll see. But Merckx is back to full fitness. I don't know whether to start him. He's unquestionably a better player overall than Orsolini. Not by much, but you can see the comparison there. Inverted winger. Better passing, better acceleration, all that jazz. Sorry, his acceleration is 19. Yeah, it is. Blimey. I always forget about how fast he is. McDonald and Ravello in the midfield with Faisal in front of them, of course, and Dukadin on that left-hand side. Probably the only other player I just need to briefly remind you of. Brought in last January. Didn't really focus on him too much because I had to stick him in the B team straight away because there was no space for him then. There is now. Now we've sold those left-sided players. Again, pace is there. Stamina needs to be better. Thankfully, we're not going to see him in his twilight because that natural fitness is not going to keep him at his peak for too long. The technicals are great. Mentals could be improved. He's the backup for a reason. But he should develop, and we'll see how that goes. Maxi Gomez remains up front largely because Mayorga is not at full fitness. I'm thinking of starting Mayorga this year. But we're going to play this game. Merckx and McDonald, the only changes. Antoine Griezmann's at Bilbao now. Speaking of the right-hand side, I was very close to bringing Nico Williams back. I considered it a great deal, but he still has a hatred of big games, and that was really, really the point of the replacement for Gallardo. I needed to replace that big game mentality play on that right-hand side. Gallardo always performed when I needed to bring him in, which is why Orsolini was the replacement and not Nico Williams. Of course, Inaki Williams still at Bilbao. They're starting Griezmann, though. Sevilla were re-promoted, by the way, along with Granada and Malaga. In case you're wondering. But yeah, Sevilla back in the big time. They ended up actually obliterating the second division. They were second when I looked sort of midway through the year, but second half of that season, they just kicked straight on and demolished the rest of that year. They set records for that second division in the end. But there goes the ball being punted back to Tenorio. Christensen now stood over it. A few players got new contracts, by the way. A few players who's had sort of 2 years left remaining, but I thought better strengthen those release fees. Christensen being one of them. Some of them actually had many years left on their contract and like unproblematic years left on their contract. But oh my god, I think we've just got from about 40 yards. Faisal, I'm so glad I chose this game because that was a madness. Speaking of doing things that are concerning, that goalkeeper's. I mean, the instinct of Faisal, he volleyed that in from 40 yards. Good God. Anyway, as I was saying, Christensen's release fee was £80 million, which sounds a lot on paper, but his value has been creeping up, and it was a sort of similar differential between his release fee and value that we had with Merit and his release fee when he was sold to PSG. So I figured Christensen gets a new deal. I think Harwood's one with a new deal. There's a few people, like I say, with 2 years left on their contract who probably would get deals over the course of this year regardless. They just happen to be approached me in the summer. Maxi Gomez is offside here, I think. Yeah, he is. Yeah, so there's a few people in that boat who had a couple of years left and would get one at some point over the course of this next 12 months anyway. So when they approached me over the summer, I went, just have it now, it's fine. Harwood, I think, was one of those. I think Nedelaire was one of those. Oh, he's only just offside. McDonald, I think, is in that boat as well, but he hasn't got one yet. Faisal, I think, actually might be one of those who got a new contract. There have been a fair few. Stel Cancelo, who's barely played. That won't bite you. You've still got 2 right backs. It's not an issue. And there's youth replacements. Unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. 2 games, both my right backs have gone. It's a foot injury as well. This one could be horrific. Tenorio's capable of right back. He's not right-footed, but I don't really have much choice in the matter. I don't have any other spare left back, so I have to bring on Mitaj. And I think I trust him. What's your forward ability, Mitaj, opposed to Harwood's forward ability? Because neither of you are pretty good going forward, but you've got the pace left back a little bit more. I think we'll swap Harwood to actual left back for the time being. McDonald can go in centre back, actually. I forgot about that. And he is left-footed. That's what we'll do. We'll bring Antov on. We'll bring Antov on for Nedelaire and move people around so that this fits. Generally forgot that McDonald was actually capable in central defence. Because last season, we were effectively operating with 3 natural central defenders. We just never had an issue there. Because on paper, we only had 3 we only had 3 whose roles were primarily central defender. We only had Kriros, Picard, and Harwood. And realistically, actually, Picard and Harwood's first choice positions when we signed them weren't centre back. Harwood was left back and Picard was a midfielder. We just moved them into centre back because that's where they were better. Maxi Gomez has actually scored this time. He's not offside. So Merckx is the architect of this one, apparently. So Tenorio back to Merckx. Merckx pops it in, and yeah, Maxi Gomez heads it in. Nice job between the pair of them. But I knew I had those players who could fill in central defence if necessary. Nedelaire can do central defence. McDonald can do central defence. Antov can do central defence. We may have only had 3 primary central defenders, but we had 3 backups who played elsewhere. I mean, Tenorio left back can do it. I think Bermudez is actually capable of centre back as well. They don't have the height for it, I don't think, those two, but in an emergency. And of course, we had Dimas Lopez in the B team as well, who could step up at any point if we so desired. He's now officially in the A team, but he is on B team duties for the time being, while there's not really a position for him going in the first 18. Maxi Gomez scores a second. Retires versatility at centre back and left back, just makes him a better bench player than Lopez for the time being. And there goes Merckx, providing Maxi Gomez for a second time. Maxi Gomez isn't left-footed, is he? Reasonable, but he is dominant right. And this kind of performance from Maxi Gomez is the kind of performance I was expecting from him last year when we signed him. We've had 11 shots on target. Their goalkeeper's on a 7.1 and he's conceded 3 goals. By the way, long-time viewers of the channel might recognise the name in the top right now. That is, in fact, Jordi Escobar, who we had at York. Ducadin's not put in a good performance again. We don't have replacements. Oh, we do have Mike on Douglas. Sorry, I tell a lie. We do have Mike on Douglas this week. Antov's come on the pitch, so I can't really replace him. And same with Tenorio, because we don't have any more players who are capable of right back in this squad. Merckx has assisted twice, but not scored, so I don't really have much qualms taking him off the pitch if necessary. 15 minutes to go, he might be the 3rd substitution. He might get a hat-trick assist for and a hat-trick of goals for Gomez here if he gets this. He doesn't. Come back to Tenorio. Gone in was to Ravella. To Antov. Over to Mike on Douglas. His first appearances in live action. Harwood. I genuinely thought that was gone in for a second there. 15 minutes to go. Merckx is the only one dipping into a red heart as things stands. Orsolini for the last 15. Why not? Oh, McDonald scored from a corner. There was a succession of corners. I presumed they were leading nowhere. But McDonald has scored. Bella, McDonald. Bish bash bosh. Really? Simple as you like. But Orsolini on the last 15. I don't need them to be on attacking mode for the last whatever minute of this. We can preserve a little bit of legs. But we've played 2 games in the league so far. We have scored 9 goals. I would like to end this one with a clean sheet, though, which we didn't against Villarreal. Oh, major news. Well, I remind you, this is the first home game of the season. That's why I actually brought you back for this one in particular. I don't normally bring you back before the transfer window closed, but I kind of figured we've done all our business this year. Unless there's a major bid for anyone that I can't turn down, we've done our major business. I'm not expecting anything else now. But major news, they're building a new stadium. Well, they're in the process of it. They're currently in the planning stages, but I approached them when the new season ticked over, and they said they would do it. They agreed that this current stadium, because it can't be expanded, was holding us back. They are in the planning stages. It is happening. Which is why I'm glad is our income is improved year on year as well, because we actually have a nice healthy balance even with the transfer funds. We've actually only made a net loss of £20 million this summer, which is quite remarkable. Mike on Douglas here might provide Maxi Gomez or go himself. It's actually Orsolini at the back post. He scored 1 start, 1 sub appearance, 2 goals, 2 assists. He never lets me down. He never lets me down. I can't remember where I had him last year. I had him at Napoli on the very short-lived Glory Hunter on this year's game. I had him at Napoli. Acquired him there. Didn't let me down there. Did I get him for Burnley on last year's Twitch save? Might have done. Either there or Southampton, one of the two. 2 goals from Maxi Gomez, 1 from Faisal, continuing his form from last year. 2 games played, 10 goals scored. I'm starting to think our odds are actually quite accurate this year. I love the fact that Tom Davies is actually still at Almeria. That is a baffling transfer. And yet, year on year, incredibly consistent. Not great, but consistent. Yeah, Douglas has been here a while, and that's the first time he's actually played for us. £100,000 he cost from, I don't know what this club is, to be honest, but he was in a Brazilian youth team, and £100,000. Didn't know how good he was going to be, but figured at 100k, Guaranteed profit regardless. I'll do that draw and I'll let you know what the plans are for the future. Forgot to check what the injury was. Thankfully, 2 weeks to Netherlayer. So we're finally on group stage draw day. I noticed actually that the sort of El Canario between Las Palmas and our B team happens in a couple of days' time as well. We actually beat them in the home version of that last season, which is particularly embarrassing for Las Palmas. However, we're here now. We're actually the second highest seed now. 112 is our rating. We're not actually not the highest seed, but we're the second highest seed in pot 1. There are somehow 4 teams in the second seed pot who are the same or higher. Dortmund, Liverpool, City and PSG. Somehow pot 1 is weaker than pot 2. Pot 1 has Porto, PSV, Lyon and Anderlecht. Did PSV win the Europa League? They did. It was between them and Lille. They beat Chelsea on the way through. Because of course they did. They actually had Anderlecht in their group. Somehow they're both in pot 1. How are Anderlecht in this? Like, I know where Lyon are. They won last year. But is it because they're 8th on the list? Because PSV won the Europa League, it goes to 7th and 8th rather than 6th and 7th. Is that what's happened here? I'm so confused. I don't know how they've achieved it. I think that's partially also because Man United won the Champions League and the Premier League. So that's the first round of things done. We're in Group H. Now for the surprisingly more terrifying second seeds. The lowest second seed is 97. Anderlecht was 17. We dodged City, the worst of all. Dodged Liverpool. PSG or Chelsea? I'll take Chelsea out of those two. Copenhagen have a seeding of 70. How have they managed that? So to get drawn into Group A, that's unfortunate. They were the easiest. Gladbach the next. Obviously, we can't get Barcelona. They've gone into Group E. Imagine if they'd gone into Group F with Bayern and Inter, or Man United and PSG. That was an option. Copenhagen go into Group F. We get Hertha. Not bad. Rapid Vienna, I think the worst of all, goes into Group A. Celtic have a very good chance there if they can do something against Porto. Olympiacos into B. Now I see Olympiacos in the Champions League. We're left with Valencia, which we can't get, or Young Boys again. Right, back with the Young Boys. That's a sentence I didn't want to say. Group G is insane. United, PSG, Napoli, Valencia. Meanwhile, Milan, Gladbach, Anderlecht and AZ Alkmaar is a group. That's Milan without their striker, by the way. Liverpool bought that striker. All in all, a middle-of-the-road group in terms of difficulty. Could have been better, could have been worse. But what I was really hoping for was seeing how this pans out in terms of games. I'm finding it hard to look past that double away trip to Chelsea and Madrid. There's only a couple of games in between, but that seems the sensible thing to do. So, what do you think about our transfer window? What do you think about that Champions League group? Do you reckon we can win the Champions League again? Did it 2 years ago, 3 years ago in game now, or 3 seasons ago. About time we did it again. Until next time, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Been a while since I said that. Helps the algorithms. There's bloody algorithms. Until next time. Ciao.